After just a few months into my journey as a beginner learning how to work on cars, I've now got the most dreaded issue: a rattle from my engine. Okay, so the Miata is pretty much done. I spent the past few months learning how to do all the maintenance on the car, and then ended up upgrading it with stuff like wheels, tires, and suspension, and then also replaced all the ball joints and tie rods that appeared a bit worn out. So I'm pretty much done, right? No! The world has blessed me with multiple new sounds coming from the engine, which is not the place I would like to hear some sounds. And to top it off, with a check engine light. So I've noticed a couple of things, and I'm still trying to figure out how related they could be. The main issue I started noticing was after taking the car on a pretty hard drive, I started getting a weird like buzzing or whooshing or sound from the front of the car, and right after I got a check engine light. And I was pretty certain that I must have blown up the engine somehow or messed something up, because the car definitely sounded different after that check engine light came on. So I got the code checked, and it said that the camshaft was over advanced, which didn't seem that bad. I was worried that maybe something was wrong with the core of the engine. So I thought maybe the timing belt might have skipped or something like that. And I started doing some research and looking at the ways to fix it, include doing an oil change. But then that went away. So I didn't think much of it, but I did notice there was still some odd, like, little rattles or whooshing sounds that are not fully gone away, but the check engine light went away. And then I took it back on that same road, and on that same exact spot, I got the same noise and a check engine light. The same check engine light. And I got a check engine light. And then to make it even weirder, I've started noticing that same whooshing sound when I'm turning. So I did some more research, and it seems like maybe it might be something to do with one of the belt systems. Specifically, maybe one of the pulley bearings is going bad and making that sound. And it's making that sound when the belts are under a bit more load than usual, such as when the power steering is pulling pretty hard, or I finally figured out that piece of road is a very steep decline. So maybe because I was engine braking really hard on a steep decline, that really started stressing out that belt. So I popped the hood, and I started looking around, I started revving the car, and I noticed a new sound. I have a very distinct metallic rattle coming from the top of the car when I rev it, which I never even knew I had. So it never ends. So I've been talking with some friends, and so my best guess is that maybe it's part of the issue might be the variable valve timing system. What that system is basically doing is using a solenoid to adjust the timing of the camshaft, which may be related to that engine code, at certain parts of the RPM range to optimize the performance. And that rattling sound seems to be coming from that solenoid, so I wonder if maybe it's like stuck. And if it is stuck, that would also explain why I'm getting camshaft over advanced error. It might not explain, I don't really think this would explain the steering error, the steering sound. I think I think I have multiple problems. But so I'm gonna start trying to diagnose that by running the car, making sure I've got the sound, then unplugging it to see if that fixes it. So yeah. So I gave it a start, checked that the rattle is still there, unplugged the VVT solenoid, and then gave it another start to see what would happen. And for a minute there, I thought it was gone. No! And then it started coming back.
Oh, no.
Oh no, is it still there?
That would have been too good to be true if I literally just had to unplug it.
What was that?
And then while I was stressed about damage to the car, this happened.
Did you just break it? What the fuck? Why did this just break? Oh my goodness, I just broke the clip. Okay, so that didn't solve it, and I was pretty worried that that means it's a completely unrelated issue. But when I pulled that solenoid, when I disconnected the solenoid, I got to check engine light, which is expected. But I didn't get to check engine light. I got 2 codes under that light. So the first code is a camshaft position actuator A control circuit open bank 1. In my uneducated guess, I'm just going to assume that means the solenoid is not working or disconnected. But this is the interesting thing that I need to look at more. I got my old check engine light again. The camshaft position timing is over advanced. The exact same engine code that I've been battling with. So that makes me think that maybe the solenoid is indeed, even though I still got the sound with the solenoid disconnected, I wonder if the solenoid is still causing the issue. Maybe if it's like stuck in an extended position which is over advancing and somehow it's, but I don't know why that would make a sound, but that's the best I've got right now. So I was feeling pretty bad that I didn't figure anything out there, but the fact that I got the exact same engine code again is making me think that this may, at least this sound is related to that solenoid. I might try just replacing the solenoid. That is fascinating. I really didn't expect that. But I feel a little better that maybe I'm onto something. This is definitely better than nothing. I really thought I got nothing out of that. But getting my old code, I might be onto something. But yeah, cars, fix stuff. I just want to drive this thing. I was really starting to get bummed that my car wasn't drivable anymore because I really enjoyed my weekend morning drives. So I was motivated to figure this out as fast as I could. The solenoid. Nothing particularly looks bad. After I pulled out the solenoid, it looked fine, so I was kind of stumped. I wasn't sure where to go from here. I was kind of just hoping I would see something obviously wrong. Okay, I need a 9-volt battery to test the solenoid, and I can't find a working one. And I just remembered there's one in this mic, so I'm gonna steal that. So the solenoid is not triggering at all. The video was supposed to be powered by 12 volts, and I found a video online where someone was saying it works with 9 volts. So naturally I believe them. Oh! It's moving halfway. So based on that, I thought maybe the solenoid was a little stuck. So I took a plastic pry tool and I tried pushing it around. And sure enough, you could see it moving with a larger range of motion than when it had the battery connected. So it's pretty sure it was bad, so I called up my local dealership to try and get a part. No, this is...
So if it's the one I'm looking at, we do have it here. It's $129.80.
Okay.
For $129, I figured it's worth me taking another shot at trying to fix the solenoid I have now. So I tried spraying it down with engine degreaser to try and clean it up, and then moved around with the plastic pry tool again to see if that would loosen any dirt. But no luck, it still was moving the same amount as before. So in a last-ditch effort to diagnose it, I had the idea to actually connect to a 12-volt car battery, like it's meant to be receiving. I cleaned it and I tested it with a 9-volt battery, which is what I did earlier, which is what some random guy on YouTube told me works on this 12-volt component, and it still was behaving the same. It was only moving maybe 2 millimeters instead of a whole centimeter or so that apparently it's supposed to move. So just to make sure, I connected it to the 12-volt battery so it gets the proper voltage it's supposed to be getting. Still doing the same thing. It's definitely a louder click than the 9-volt, but it's pretty clearly not functioning as it should be, and it seems to be stuck. So I might have to just drive to Mazda down the street and buy a new part. $129 plus tax for this. I really wasn't looking forward to spending that much money, so I did one last checking the resistance, but it seemed electrically fine,
7.4.
I don't know why it wasn't working.
This indicates that the camshaft oil control valve is faulty and needs to be replaced.
So I ordered the new sketchy replacement off eBay and waited a few days.
Okay, so today I'm gonna I'm gonna try to fix the sound in my car. And because I live in Austin, and Austin has horrifying allergies, I'm gonna wear goggles and mask even though I'm literally just changing a single part in the car because there is so much pollen in the air. And so I think the issue is the VVT solenoid. And when I went to Mazda to get a replacement part, they quoted me $500. So naturally I bought the $23 sketchy one on eBay, and I'm gonna see if that works.
So apparently the quote I got over the phone for the solenoid was the wrong part, and the right one when I checked it in person was the $500 part. And at that point, I'm going for the sketchy eBay one. But I was skeptical that it wouldn't work, so I was surprised that it even fit, and I was feeling a little bit hopeful. It seemed to be the same size. So
I guess I'm just gonna try it. I don't think I hear it at all.
And what do you know? It seems like it was working.
No way!
I was incredibly skeptical that this would actually work.
Usually I hear that sound on startup.
But it was starting to look pretty
It
good.
definitely wasn't there on startup this time.
And then I started hearing it
Uh-oh.
again.
Oh no, it's doing it.
This problem was starting to get a bit more scarier. I was certain that it must have been the solenoid.
Oh.
And so after that, things got pretty scary. I wasn't sure where to go from here, and I was starting to become more certain that I might have a serious engine issue.
So, I'm pretty concerned about my engine. I spent quite a lot of time doing research about what the sound could be, and it seemed, and also looked a little like it was an issue with the VVT solenoid. So I got a new one, and that definitely did not fix it. It's very clearly rattling. So, I was really hoping this would be a plug-and-play fix, but of course I'm wrong, and I'm pretty terrified because engine trouble is the last thing I wanted to be dealing with this car. So I think I'm going to have to start trying to do some real fixes. So my plan of attack now is I'm going to do an oil change first, see if that changes anything, because apparently sometimes that does help clean the VVT system, but I'm not really confident that's going to make any difference, but it's the easiest thing for me to do, so I'm going to do that first. If that doesn't work, then I'm going to go ahead and do my valve cover gasket change that I need to do anyway. And while I pull that off, I'm going to inspect what's under there, see if maybe then I can see any obvious signs of what that sound is. That sounds like it's coming from under the valve cover. So I'm really hoping that I would see something there if the oil change doesn't fix it. If that's not the case, then I may potentially be looking at an issue with the actual rods, pistons, or rod bearings. Which is the worst case, I believe, in this situation. Yeah, cars are fun, right? Okay, I'm gonna do the oil change. I gotta be doing something instead of nothing. And I'm not going to get anything out of just overthinking and just sitting here wondering like, oh, maybe my rods are bad. So I'm just going to start doing everything I know I can do, starting from easiest to hardest, and see what I find. But yeah.
So I got started doing an oil change. This is actually my second time ever doing an oil change. The first one was basically my second video, so it was pretty exciting to see that I was getting more comfortable with working on this stuff and have a better idea of what I'm doing. And I mean, I wasn't sure what else to do. I figured an oil change is the easiest way to get a look into the health of the engine without physically opening it up. So after a few minutes, I got the bolt cracked open. And you might notice something here that I didn't notice at the time. Not a lot of oil seems to have actually come out of there.
Let's see here. On the bright side, no metal. So, wow. So that makes me feel much better about the worst case scenario not really being a thing. I have a feeling that when I take the valve cover off, maybe I'll find something. But this makes me feel so much better because I was really starting to get worried about the engine.
It was really relieving to see that there wasn't any immediate catastrophic damage to the engine.
I know this is not going to translate on camera well. It really is awful how hard to tell where this line is.
And so after I poured in about 3 quarts of new oil, that's when I realized that only about a quart of oil came out. And that's when it really started to dawn on me that I might have an issue.
Okay, so major issue. This car only drained 1 quart of oil. And it's supposed to have a little over 3.
This is pretty scary because it's already a really high mileage engine and I don't have any experience working on engine, so I'm trying to keep this engine alive as long as I can.
Dude, this literally never ends. The cars are driving me nuts. So 2 things to note. Maybe it was so low on oil and that's what the sounds were. And if I fill the oil, the sounds will go away. Okay. But long term, did this car just run on low oil for several hundred miles, like severely low? Which would mean long-term issues with the engine? Oh my god. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just run the car with the new oil in and see if it fixed the sound and do some research on how I could have lost so much oil. Although maybe a ton of oil leaks would do that, and guess who has a ton of oil leaks? Me.
So with the oil change done, I gave it a start to see if anything had changed maybe.
No sound so far. Everything's good so far. Apart from the fact that it's been running on low oil.
And to my surprise, it seemed like it was fixed. Like just the oil change that did it. This was huge. I'd been terrified and stumped about this issue for a week or 2. I was also kind of just shocked that it was just oil. I really thought there was a mechanical issue. I didn't realize that it might just be low oil.
What have I learned? It was not the VVT solenoid. It was low oil. Which is really scary for the long-term health of this car. At least I fixed
So
it.
that was a really up and down day. I was incredibly relieved that I'd finally fixed my engine issue, that had kept this car from being drivable for like 2 weeks. But at the same time, now I'm really concerned that I might have decreased the life of this engine.
Alright, so I fixed the car, but I'm now pretty scared. The car drives now. I'm gonna take it on a little drive and make sure.
Wow, that was not how I expected my day to go or the issue I expected to find. I was pretty convinced that I had multiple different issues with different causes, but after driving it for a while, it seems like it all had to do with low oil pressure because there was low oil. So that must explain why in steep declines or in heavy turns why it started making that noise, because it was probably starved for oil at that point. But on the other hand, it felt really liberating and fulfilling to successfully diagnose and fix my own engine issues, especially when I just started working on cars a few months prior. So I'm just gonna consider the day a win and deal with future problems when they come up. So thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe if you want to see more content, and I'll see you in the next one.